Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, fully equipped with a mental remote control for your life. You possess total command over every word that leaves your lips, every emotion that stirs within your chest, every dollar that leaves your bank account, and every single thought that flickers through your mind. Sounds like a superpower, doesn't it? It sounds impossible, even delusional. Yet, over 2,000 years ago, a man lived who didn't just believe this was possible, he lived it as his only path to true freedom. His name was Epictetus, and he was born into the absolute horror of slavery. Just pause for a second and let that sink in. He didn't own his own body, he had no freedom of movement, and he had zero say in the circumstances of his daily existence. He was, by definition, the property of another human being. Yet, somehow, this man unlocked a secret so potent that it shattered his invisible chains, transforming him from a physical slave into one of history's most influential architects of mental and emotional liberty. He famously taught, "No one can hurt you without your permission." Now, if you're currently struggling with genuine pain or trauma, that might sound abrasive. But Epictetus wasn't denying the reality of hardship. He was unveiling a truth. While we rarely have a say in what happens to us, we have total authority over how we respond. That response, that split-second gap, is where your true power resides. Look around. Most of us today aren't shackled in irons, yet we are living as prisoners of our own making. We are trapped by our own uncontrolled words, our volatile moods, our impulsive spending, and our runaway thoughts. We say things in the heat of the moment that we regret for years. We allow a bad mood to cannibalize an entire day of potential. We hemorrhage money on fleeting things we don't need, and we let our minds spin into a toxic vortex of fear, doubt, and paralyzing what-ifs. But what if I told you that the ancient wisdom that liberated a Roman slave could be the exact key to unlocking your own cage? What if the 4 areas where you feel the most powerless, your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, could actually be transmuted into your 4 greatest strengths? The ancient Stoics understood a foundational truth that we have tragically forgotten. Real wealth isn't calculated by the digits in your bank account. It's measured by your self-control. Real power isn't about bending others to your will. It's about the relentless mastery of yourself. And true freedom? It's not about having endless, overwhelming choices. It's about having the clarity and discipline to make the right choice, consistently. Every single day, life hands you the training ground for this mastery. Someone cuts you off in traffic. That's your arena to master your mouth and mood. You feel that sudden, nagging itch to buy something useless online? That's your moment to seize control of your money. Your mind begins to spiral with late-night anxiety. That's your invitation to reclaim your thoughts. The beauty of Stoic wisdom is that it doesn't demand perfection. It demands progress. Even Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, battled these same demons. In his private journals, he reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't about becoming a cold, emotionless statue. It's about becoming so firmly rooted in your own identity that the chaos of the world cannot shake your foundation. When you control your mouth, you speak with intention rather than impulse. When you master your mood, you choose your state of being instead of falling victim to it. When you manage your money, it becomes a bridge to peace, not a source of stress. And when you master your mind, you stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and become their author. In the next few minutes, we are going to break down these 4 pillars of personal power. We are going to explore ancient, battle-tested wisdom that is more relevant in our chaotic modern world than ever before. You will walk away with concrete, actionable tools you can start using the second this video ends. But here is the deal. This won't work if you're just a spectator. Each of these pillars builds on the foundation of the last, so stay with me through every section. Do not skip ahead. I promise you, if you commit to this, the person you are in 30 days will be unrecognizable to the person watching this right now. If you are ready to stop drifting and start steering, hit that like button to lock in your commitment. Drop a comment below telling me which of the 4 M's you struggle with the most. Be honest. We're all in this together. Make sure you're subscribed, because we are just scratching the surface of self-mastery. Share this with someone who needs a wake-up call, because real power begins when you take responsibility. And finally, solidify your resolve by typing this in the comments. I am the master of my mouth, mood, money, and mind. Now, let's start with number 1. Master your mouth, the gateway to wisdom. There is an old saying, the tongue is a small thing, but what enormous damage it can do. But here is the deeper layer most people miss. Your mouth isn't just a weapon that hurts others. Every word you speak is either constructing or dismantling the person you are becoming. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest philosophers, spent years observing the theater of the Roman Senate. He watched as brilliant careers were built with a single, measured sentence, and how friendships, legacies, and alliances were shattered by one careless, impulsive remark. He realized that nowhere is the concept of new beginnings more real than in our speech. Every time you open your mouth, you are ending one version of yourself and beginning another. The question you must ask yourself is, are you speaking into existence a version of yourself that you actually respect? Building on that realization, Seneca eventually turned his gaze inward. He realized that the most profound insights don't come from observing the Senate floor, but from observing oneself. He famously wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Nowhere is this more accurate than in our speech. Each time you open your mouth to speak, you are effectively ending one version of yourself and birthing another. The real question you should be asking yourself is, are you consistently becoming someone you can truly respect? Think back to the last time you lashed out in anger, letting words fly that you regretted the very second they left your lips. In that unfortunate moment, you experienced the raw, unfiltered power of uncontrolled speech. Your words had escaped your mouth long before your wisdom had a chance to catch them. But now, imagine if you could actually reclaim that lost power. What if every single word you spoke was a deliberate choice, rather than just a mindless release? To achieve this, the Stoics developed a practice that is as simple as it is profound: the pause. Before speaking, especially in heated or emotional moments, they would stop and ask themselves 3 essential questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? And is it kind? If the answer to any of these was a no, they simply remained silent. However, mastering your mouth isn't just about biting your tongue to suppress negative words. It's about the intentional, active use of positive ones. When you offer a genuine compliment, you aren't just brightening someone else's day, you are actively training your own brain to notice the goodness in the world. When you speak words of encouragement, you are essentially programming your mind to scan for possibilities instead of getting stuck on problems. Marcus Aurelius once noted in his personal journal, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest." Your controlled, thoughtful speech can serve as that very same headland for others. In a world defined by reactive, explosive communication, your calm, intentional words become a beacon of strength and stability. Here is a practical exercise that will transform your relationships almost immediately. For the next 7 days, whenever you find yourself in an emotionally charged situation, take 3 slow, deep breaths before you utter a single word. With the first breath, ask yourself what you are truly feeling. With the second, try to understand what the other person might be experiencing. With the third, ask yourself, what words would serve the highest good of everyone involved? The most amazing thing about mastering your mouth is that it creates a powerful feedback loop. When you speak with clear intention, people start to treat you differently. They listen to you more carefully, trust you more deeply, and naturally seek your counsel more often. This isn't manipulation. It's just the natural result of becoming a person worth listening to. Perhaps the most impactful aspect of this mastery is how it fundamentally changes your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep a promise you made verbally, you are actively building self-trust. Every time you choose to speak kindly about yourself, you are reshaping your self-image. Every time you refuse to gossip or complain, you are choosing to focus your precious mental energy on things within your control. Remember, your words don't just communicate your thoughts, they actively shape them. When you consistently speak words of possibility, gratitude, and wisdom, your mind begins to adopt those patterns automatically. You truly become what you repeatedly say. Your mouth is the gateway between your inner world and the outer world. Master this gateway, and you master the flow of energy in both directions. With that foundation set, tomorrow we will explore how this same principle applies to your internal emotional world. For now, affirm this in the comments below as your daily reminder. I speak with power, not impulse. This brings us to our second pillar. Master your mood, your inner weather system. Imagine if you woke up every single morning and found that someone else was deciding exactly what the weather would be inside your mind. Some days, they might choose the stormy chaos of anger, other days, the heavy fog of sadness, and if you were exceptionally lucky, they might grant you a day of sunny happiness. Unfortunately, this is exactly how most people live their emotional lives, completely at the mercy of external circumstances beyond their control. But here is the perspective shift that changed everything for me, and it is a discovery the Stoics made over 2,000 years ago. You are not the victim of your emotions. You are their creator. Consider Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist who endured the most horrific conditions imaginable in Nazi concentration camps. Amidst that darkness, he uncovered a fundamental truth that perfectly echoes ancient Stoic wisdom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our true power to choose our response. And within that response lies our greatest opportunity for growth and freedom. Take a moment to truly reflect on that space I just mentioned. Even right now, as you are listening to these words, that exact space exists within you. Between every single external trigger and your internal emotional response, there lies a vital moment, sometimes lasting only a split second, where you possess the absolute power to choose your path. The ancient Stoics referred to this as the discipline of desire. It is not about suppressing your wants or settling for less. Rather, it is about learning to deeply appreciate what you already have, gracefully accepting what you cannot change, and working with unwavering diligence on the things that are within your power to influence. When you finally master this, your mood stops being a wild, unpredictable storm that tosses you around. Instead, it becomes a well-tuned instrument that you can play with grace and intention. Here is a truth that might genuinely shock you. Your emotions are never objective facts. They are merely interpretations. Consider this. When someone fails to text you back immediately, the situation itself is entirely neutral. Yet, your mind instantly spins a narrative that they are ignoring you, that they are angry, or that they simply do not care. But what if you chose to construct a different story? What if you considered that they might be swamped with work, that their battery died, or perhaps they are secretly planning something special to surprise you? Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Every morning, he would prepare himself for the day, knowing it would likely bring challenges, difficult personalities, and unexpected setbacks. Instead of dreading these disruptions, he viewed them as essential opportunities to sharpen his emotional mastery. Try this powerful exercise right now. Think of something that has been weighing on you lately. Ask yourself, what narrative am I creating about this situation? Then ask yourself, what is another way I could interpret these same facts? Finally, which of these interpretations truly serves my highest good? The real magic happens when you realize you have been the author of your own emotional experience all along. You just didn't realize you were holding the pen. Now, mood mastery is not about toxic positivity or pretending that life is perfect when it isn't. It is about choosing responses that empower your growth rather than drain your spirit. When you feel anger, instead of suppressing it or allowing it to explode, use it as fuel to create positive change. When you feel sadness, instead of drowning in it, allow it to connect you more deeply to your humanity and your compassion for others. The Stoics had a beautiful practice called evening reflection. Each night, they would review their day and ask, "What emotions did I experience today? Which ones helped me? Which ones controlled me? And how can I respond better tomorrow?" When you begin practicing this consistently, you stop fearing your own emotions because you know you have the tools to handle them. You stop avoiding difficult situations because you trust your ability to navigate them with composure. You effectively become the calm center in other people's storms, which makes you an incredibly valuable presence in both your relationships and your work. Always remember, every emotion is simply information, not a direct instruction. Anger tells you that something matters. Fear tells you to pay closer attention. Sadness tells you that you have lost something valuable. But none of these emotions get to dictate your decisions. Your mood is your own inner weather system, and just like a skilled meteorologist, you can learn to predict, prepare for, and influence the climate of your mind. If you are ready to take full control of your emotional world, type this below: "I control my emotions. They don't control me." This leads us to our third pillar: master your money, the ultimate tool of freedom. Money reveals who you are more clearly than almost anything else in life. It is not just paper or numbers on a screen. It is crystallized energy, time, and choices. How you manage it determines whether you live as a truly free person or remain a slave to your own insatiable desires. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in ancient Rome, famously wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This was not just a theoretical philosophy for him. He lived it. Despite his immense fortune, he regularly practiced voluntary discomfort, occasionally sleeping on the floor and eating the simplest meals to remind himself that his happiness never depended on luxury. Here is the brutal truth most people prefer to ignore: if you cannot master your own spending, you cannot master your life. Every single purchase you make is either a step toward your freedom or a step deeper into slavery. There is simply no neutral ground. However, money mastery is not about being cheap, nor is it about depriving yourself of all joy. Instead, it is about aligning your spending with your core values and treating money as a functional tool rather than allowing it to treat you like a puppet. When you purchase something because you are feeling sad, bored, or desperate to impress others, money is effectively using you. However, when you buy something because it genuinely adds value to your life or empowers you to serve those around you more effectively, you are the one using money. The Stoics practiced a concept called preferred indifference, the idea that while certain things are generally good to have, they should never be allowed to dictate your self-worth or your happiness. Money falls squarely into this category. It is certainly better to have it than not, but it must never be permitted to become your master. Think back to your very last impulse purchase. You know, the one? That item you bought on a whim that is likely sitting unused, gathering dust somewhere in your house right now. In that specific moment of purchase, what were you really trying to acquire? Was it the item itself, or were you desperately trying to buy a fleeting feeling, a boost in status, a sense of comfort, or perhaps some much-needed acceptance? Here is a practice that will revolutionize your relationship with your finances. Before making any non-essential purchase, pause and ask yourself, what am I actually trying to buy here? If the honest answer is a feeling or an experience, try to find a way to cultivate that feeling without spending a single cent. Often, you will discover that you don't need the purchase at all. True financial mastery, however, goes far beyond just controlling your spending. It is about actively generating value. The Stoics believed deeply in contributing to the common good. When you shift your focus towards serving others through your work, money naturally becomes a positive byproduct of your efforts rather than the primary goal. This shift in perspective fundamentally changes how you earn and spend. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "In the morning, when thou risest unwillingly, let this thought be present: I am rising to the work of a human being." When you begin to view your labor as an act of service rather than just a way to make money, you bring a level of excellence to it that inevitably leads to greater financial rewards. Here is the specific method that changed my entire financial life. I started tracking not just where my money went, but how I felt immediately after each purchase. I created 3 simple columns: purchase, reason, and feeling after. The results were shocking. I discovered that the purchases bringing me lasting satisfaction were always aligned with my values: books that expanded my mind, meaningful experiences with loved ones, and tools that helped me serve others better. Conversely, impulse buys, status-driven purchases, and emotional spending consistently left me feeling hollow or regretful. This simple practice provided a level of clarity about my spending patterns that no high-tech budget app ever could. Money mastery also requires understanding the fundamental difference between assets and liabilities. Every dollar you spend should either maintain your ability to earn more or increase your capacity to serve others. When you begin thinking in these terms, you naturally start building true wealth instead of just mindlessly consuming it. Remember, the goal is not to hoard money for its own sake. The goal is to possess enough freedom to be generous, to take calculated risks, and to make decisions based on what is right rather than what you can afford. This brings us to our 4th and final pillar: master your mind, the command center of your existence. Your mind is very much like a garden. Every single thought you allow to take root and stay is a seed you are planting. The burning question is, what kind of harvest do you want to reap in your life? Right now, as you listen to these words, thousands of thoughts are likely competing for your limited attention: worries about tomorrow, heavy regrets from yesterday, judgments about what you are currently hearing, and endless plans for later today. Most people spend their entire lives as passive observers of this mental chaos, never realizing that they possess the absolute power to choose which thoughts actually deserve their precious energy. Epictetus famously taught his students, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." While he was referring to mental wealth, the principle is identical. When you stop entertaining every random thought that knocks on the door of your consciousness, you become incredibly rich in peace and focus. Consider this: you would never allow a random stranger to walk into your house and rearrange your furniture without your permission. Yet, every single day, you let random, intrusive thoughts walk into your mind and rearrange your entire emotional state. A single negative thought can derail your entire day if you give it permission to stay. To combat this, the Stoics developed a practice called prosoke, or constant attention, a state of vigilant, ongoing monitoring of your own thoughts. It isn't meditation in the way we typically think of it today. It is more like acting as a dedicated security guard for your own mind, decisively choosing which thoughts get access and which ones must be turned away. To effectively guard this mental fortress, try this life-changing practice for the next 7 days. Every time you feel yourself slipping into a negative thought spiral, pause and ask yourself, is this specific thought helping me, or is it hurting me? Is it moving me toward the person I truly want to become, or is it pulling me away? If a thought isn't serving you, consciously choose to replace it with one that does. Understand that mind mastery isn't about indulging in toxic positivity or pretending that life's problems don't exist. It is about choosing productive, constructive thoughts over destructive ones. Instead of spiraling with the thought, "This is terrible, and there's nothing I can do," you pivot to, "This is challenging, and I need to find the best way forward." It is the exact same situation, yet the mental experience is completely transformed. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." He understood that while he couldn't control the enemies of the Roman Empire, the political intrigue, or even his own mortality, he held absolute sovereignty over his internal mental kingdom. Your mind is constantly narrating stories about what events mean. When someone doesn't smile at you, your mind instantly creates a story about rejection. When traffic is heavy, it spins a story about everything going wrong. When your boss asks to see you, it crafts a story that you are in trouble. But here is where your true power lies. You have the ability to rewrite these stories in real time. That person who didn't smile might simply be fighting their own private battles. Heavy traffic is not a catastrophe. It is a golden opportunity to practice patience or listen to something educational. Your boss wanting to see you might even be the start of good news. The Stoics call this the discipline of judgment, the vital practice of separating raw facts from the stories we weave around them. A fact is, it's raining. A story is, this rain is ruining my day. When you master this distinction, you become incredibly powerful because your emotional state is no longer held hostage by external circumstances. Try this right now. Think of something that has been stressing you out lately. Separate the hard facts from the narrative you are telling yourself. You will be amazed to find how much of your stress stems from the story, not the reality. Furthermore, your mind is a brilliant problem-solving machine when directed properly. Instead of letting it run wild with worry, give it specific problems to solve. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" ask, "What is the best way to handle this situation?" Your mind craves challenges, but it requires clear, intentional direction from you. Remember, every thought you think is either building the person you are becoming or tearing that person down. You are literally thinking yourself into existence every moment of every day. If you are ready to claim this power, comment below, "I am the architect of my mind." This leads us to our final point, the ripple effect, and how mastery truly transforms everything. There is something beautiful that happens when you begin to master these 4 areas. They don't just change individually. They create a powerful ripple effect that reshapes your entire life experience. It is exactly like tuning a musical instrument. When one string is perfectly tuned, it makes all the others sound exponentially better too. When you master your mouth, people begin seeking your counsel because your words carry genuine weight and wisdom. When you master your mood, you become the calm center that others naturally gravitate toward in times of chaos. When you master your money, you gain the freedom to make decisions based on your values rather than the desperation of survival. And when you master your mind, you see opportunities everywhere others see only problems. The real magic, however, happens in the spaces between these 4 pillars. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother who attended one of my workshops last year. She arrived feeling completely overwhelmed, struggling with crushing debt, constantly snapping at her children, worried sick about the future, and trapped in a cycle of negative thought patterns that kept her awake at night. But 6 months later, Sarah sent me a message that brought tears to my eyes. By applying these principles, Sarah didn't just manage to pay off her credit cards. She actually launched a small side business. Her entire relationship with her children underwent a complete transformation because she learned to speak from a place of love and patience rather than frustration and exhaustion. Most importantly, she said that for the first time in years, she finally felt like herself again, calm, confident, and firmly in control of her own life. The truly beautiful thing about Stoic wisdom is that it creates what psychologists call an upward spiral. Each small, hard-won victory in one area of your life generates the genuine confidence you need to tackle the challenges in another. When you successfully manage your words in a heated moment, you are simultaneously proving to yourself that you possess the capacity to control your emotions as well. When you resist an unnecessary impulse purchase, you are strengthening the very same mental muscle that allows you to resist negative, spiraling thoughts later in the day. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The Stoics took this insight even further, understanding that mastery across these four pillars creates a profound compounding effect. Every single day of practice doesn't just make that day better, it makes every future day significantly easier to navigate. Think back to the person you were just 6 months ago. What were you struggling with then? Now, imagine the person you could become 6 months from now if you consistently apply these principles. The gap between who you are today and who you could be isn't as wide as you might think. It is simply the sum total of a series of small, daily choices. Here is the most important thing I want you to understand. You do not have to be perfect in all four areas simultaneously. In fact, trying to achieve perfection everywhere at once usually leads to nothing but frustration and giving up. Instead, I encourage you to pick the one area that resonates most with you right now and focus your entire attention on that for the next 30 days. Let the mastery you gain in that one area naturally flow into and influence the others. The Stoics believed in sympathia, the deep, fundamental interconnectedness of all things. This means your inner work doesn't just benefit you, it ripples outward to benefit everyone in your life. When you become more measured in your speech, you naturally reduce the conflict in your relationships. When you manage your emotions better, you create a peaceful, stable environment for your family. When you handle money with wisdom, you model true financial responsibility for your children. When you direct your thoughts constructively, you become a consistent source of solutions rather than a contributor to problems. But perhaps the most profound ripple effect of all is how this mastery completely changes your relationship with difficulty itself. Instead of viewing challenges as things that are happening to you, you start seeing them as precious opportunities to practice your craft. Every difficult conversation becomes a chance to practice mouth control. Every stressful situation becomes an opportunity for mood mastery. Every financial decision becomes a training ground for money wisdom, and every stray worry becomes a chance to redirect your mental energy. This fundamental shift in perspective, from being a victim of circumstances to being a practitioner of your own life, changes everything. If you are ready to turn every challenge into a source of strength, comment below. Every challenge is my chance to grow stronger. We began this journey by looking at Epictetus, a man who successfully transformed from a physical slave into a world-renowned spiritual teacher. His secret wasn't changing his external circumstances, because he couldn't. His secret was mastering his internal world within those circumstances. Today, you have the exact same choice that he faced over 2,000 years ago. You now understand that true freedom is not about having unlimited choices. It is about making the right choices consistently. You have learned that your mouth, mood, money, and mind are not separate, isolated areas of life. They are deeply interconnected pillars that either support your growth or undermine it. But remember, this isn't about becoming perfect, it is about becoming intentional. Every time you pause before speaking, you are practicing mouth mastery. Every time you choose your response to a challenging emotion, you are developing mood mastery. Every time you align your spending with your values, you are building money wisdom. Every time you redirect a negative thought, you are strengthening your mental sovereignty. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, political upheaval, and deep personal tragedies. They did not have easy lives, but they possessed something far better, an unshakable inner strength that came from mastering these four fundamental areas. That exact same strength is available to you, right here and right now. Your transformation begins with a single, courageous decision, the decision to take full responsibility for your inner world. Not because life is fair, because we know it isn't, and not because it is easy, because it won't be. You do this because you deserve to live as the master of your own experience rather than as a helpless victim of your circumstances. 6 months from now, you will either be the same person with the same old struggles, or you will be someone who has learned to navigate life with wisdom, intention, and unshakable inner strength. The choice is entirely yours, and the time to make that choice is right now. Remember, no one can hurt you without your permission. Today, you finally withdraw that permission. Today, You begin the journey from reaction to response, from chaos to control, and from slavery to freedom. The 4 pillars of mastery are waiting for you. Your future self is counting on you. And somewhere in the eternal realm of ideas, the ancient Stoics are cheering you on. Take the first step. Start today. Start now. If this message resonated with you, smash that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you're subscribed for more life-changing wisdom. Your journey to mastery begins now. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. Today, I choose mastery over mediocrity, intention over reaction, and freedom over slavery to circumstances.